Welcome into Mile High Territory, our very first show. Ryan Spilborghs, Troy Renck. We're going to get you caught up with all the things with the Colorado Rockies. I know we're a little late to the party, but that's all right. This is going to be on Foul Territory Network, so we're really excited about it. A lot of great shows on the Foul Territory Network. We're just excited to be part of it. And for you, Troy, you've been covering the Rockies for a long time. We know you've been outside of it for a little bit, but when I was thinking about people that I wanted to share our Rockies discussions with, the first person I thought of was you. So I'm looking forward to getting into the rock show on this on Mile High Territory.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I haven't talked baseball since I left, like regularly since I left the beat around 2014, 15. So to get back and be able to talk some ball is fantastic. I didn't really have an avenue for it. I was the Broncos beat writer, I was the Broncos insider on TV, and now as a columnist, I write about them some, but Broncos being where they are right now. So this is ideal for me to get back involved and talk a little ball with one of my favorite guys.
Yeah, well, your son is in professional baseball. I mean, like this is great. This will be fun. And so I want to get your perspective just because we've talked about the Rockies in the front office for a while. For if this is the first time that you're listening to, what we think of Paul DePodesta, who's now the president of the Colorado Rockies, and Josh Burns. I've refrained from saying anything because it was too early in the process. We just got a chance to know him in November and then December. At this point now, what the Rockies have done, and you've seen this, is the front office has been available to talk about what's going on, which is a little bit different than we've seen in years past. I would say the best way to describe Paul and Josh and all the new people, it's far more collaborative than I was accustomed to.
Yeah, listen, the fact they're available, accountable, transparent. Who knew that those were great qualities to have in a business setting? That they replaced incompetence and arrogance. Listen, I've known Paul since the early 2000s when he was an assistant with Billy Bean. Before Moneyball, I knew Paul. Brilliant. Like you just talked to him. And Josh was the assistant GM for Dan O'Dowd when I was covering the team back in the late 90s. And Josh has been a GM. He's been, integral to how they built the Dodgers, basically for 15 years. Paul took an unusual path back to baseball, obviously, and it drew criticism to be with the Browns for what, 8, 9 years and come back. But these are smart people who put smart people around them. They have humility enough to know what they don't know, and they're available and they're transparent. And that's what the fans want. This team is on pace to still lose right around 100 games, and you think they're going to the playoffs with the enthusiasm people are having because of the way they play, because of the improved roster, because it looks like, I don't know, there's a plan. Like that's the problem. When you lose 100 games, it happens. But you look out there and go, what's the plan? They have a plan, and you live in it. You're in it every day, and that's where it's got to be a little more rewarding as you see how they're starting to philosophically change how they identify and develop hitters and pitchers. And you're seeing some of that, certainly from an offensive standpoint, take shape this year. They had an unbelievable June. We haven't seen a month like that. It feels like forever.
Yeah, that's a great point. And one of the things that last year when I was talking about Rockies all the time, I was like, okay, there's certain characteristics to be able to hit at the big league level that you have to have. One is strike zone discipline, which for a lot of players, we're seeing the walk rate around Major League Baseball is going up. And I think part of that has to do with the ABS system. So every player has their own strike zone, which is crazy to me because I never got a chance to play with my own strike zone. I'd have Larry Poncino behind the plate or Laz Diaz or like
Angel Hernandez,
Teddy Barrett, and these are, and I'm not saying these are bad umpires. I'm just saying that they're all different. You could have a high strike zone, you can have a low strike zone, you can have, a couple inches off the plate. Now it's your strike zone is the same. It goes with you when you travel. It doesn't matter who's behind the plate. It doesn't matter who the receiver is, except for, the catching metrics I think are fascinating because the guys that can still present the baseball get those borderline strikes. And now you're like, ooh, should I use my ABS? So there's actually still a benefit and a nuance to being able to catch. But what the Rockies did this year is that they earmarked, all right, strike zone discipline is really important. That's why they brought in an Eddie Julian, right? Like They saw something in TJ Rumfield. Here's a guy that even in the minor leagues had a higher walk rate. They find Troy Johnston from the Miami Marlins. These guys also had contact and swing discipline, which the Rockies for years have drafted and developed guys that chase and swing. And that is the worst combination you possibly can have. And Paul and Josh have said it too. It's like it wasn't just at the big league level, Troy, where the Rockies were number one in chase and swing. It was across the board. It was every single level, triple A, double A, single A. Like there wasn't a level where the Rockies weren't over swinging and over chasing, and it's gotten slowly better. But that still is going to take some time to get the right personnel because a lot of it has to come from the outside before it comes from the inside.
Well, listen, and you lived it again. You play at Coors Field. So much of the national perception is, oh, cheap home runs, cheap home runs. There are some cheap home runs. It's not like it was pre-humidor, but it rewards contact. It rewards the ball in play more than any field in the history of the sport. So why am I putting guys out and profiling guys that get themselves out, not swinging at strikes? Just putting the ball in play at Coors. You would have the data in front of you, but the average with balls in play when I was covering it daily and the batting average always higher. You were always rewarded for the because the field's too big. So it's not just home runs. It rewards athletes for extra doubles and some triples, and you can't have any of that because you can't steal first base. Like it was those few years where it was like, well, they make up for all their strikeouts with a lack of power. I mean, it's like if you're gonna have those strikeouts, you better have 40 home run boppers. Like you got to give me something. I can't have guys hitting 17 home runs, hitting 205 with 200 Ks. Like that's not a big league player.
No, and if you go back in the last couple of years that we've seen the highest run scoring totals usually come from teams that put the ball in play. So like last year,
Milwaukee, right? Teams like Milwaukee,
Milwaukee come in here and it's a track meet. We're seeing this right now.
Toronto.
Toronto came in and blasted the Rock Show last year, which was really hard to watch. And then this year we've saw the Marlins in back-to-back games score 10 runs. That's a high contact, put the ball in play team. And so, that's why, again, you're looking at the players that the Rockies brought in, Jake McCarthy. And he talked about the month of June. Month of June was really impressive. And you're right, because there was multiple players that we've kind of been waiting to see what version of them are they going to become. Jake McCarthy's been really like an exciting player because he's putting the ball in play. He's fast. But the guys that I wanted to see was the younger players. I wanted to see Kyle Karros. I wanted to see the Rockies haven't had a first baseman since Mark Reynolds. Like they haven't.
Yeah, CJ Crone, Mark Reynolds.
I mean, it's been a while. And then you go back to it was Morneau and Todd Helton. Well, it looks like the Rockies found a first baseman in this TJ Rumfield kid. And that to me, between Kyle Karros slugging, he's second right now in OPS in slugging for third baseman in the National League, it's a down year for third baseman overall in the National League with production. But the Rockies this season, I mean, we had a feeling it was going to be Kyle, but you also didn't know because you have this kid in Charlie Condon that's coming up, and you don't know if he's an outfielder or a third baseman or first baseman yet. The Rockies found a first baseman and they found a third baseman. And that's a big deal because they haven't had that. They haven't had, besides me, after we lose McMahon, they really haven't had the bookends. And you have bookends now, which is a big deal.
Yeah, because usually those guys anchor your lineup. They usually corner players hit somewhere between 2 through 6. I mean, and Kyle, I had my doubts about him as a hitter. I've been completely impressed by him from day one as a fielder because he's taller, and I'm like, I don't know. He's smooth. He's smooth. Now, we'll never see another Nolan Arenado. I mean, I covered Vinny Castilla, Jeff Zorilla, Nolan Arenado, so the bar's high. But Kyle's smooth over there. He makes all the plays. He's just good. He's way better. And I watched him a little at UCLA, but he's good. Legit upper tier fielder. My issue is the power going to come? And I talked to Josh Burns at spring training about that. And he's like, yeah, we got to give it time. He needs to grow. He's got to mature. Some of the same things you're saying, understanding his strike zone, understanding how he's being attacked. And we're starting to see that growth. If he finishes this year with 18 home runs, plays Gold Glove caliber defense. Doubtful he'd win a Gold Glove, but that's something to build on. And then you have Rumpfield, if he throws out 20 and hits near 300, okay, now you got something. And then Condon at that point, I mean, I don't know how they can keep him down much longer. You would know that conversation better than me. I mean,
No idea.
I know privately that I'm sure they wanted to wait till September. Just get him at bats. This is not a year we're contending. We don't want to burn an option on, but I mean, the guy, they always say you slam the door, you earn it. He's got 20 home runs now in the minor leagues. I think might even in 16 or so in AAA, whatever. But he's going to have to play in a corner then, right? I mean, he's going to play right or left. And at Coors, you'd probably put him in right, I think, Spilly, maybe. I don't know. I mean, either way, he's got to play one of those two. And so they got a log jam of outfielders. But if he comes up and hits, and I think he will, I mean, that might not be initially. Now we're starting to talk about something. Then Ethan Holiday was off to a really good start before he broke his foot. So now at least you start seeing take shape. The concern for me is what the hell is going to happen with Doyle and Tovar? Are these guys going to hit? Like Doyle, it's been a while, and I get he's been hurt. And last year he had some issues off the field that affected it, and I totally sympathize with that. But these guys hitting around 200 for a calendar year, and I know Tovar is a great fielder, and he is a Gold Glove fielder, but I can't have two guys in my lineup at Coors Field hitting 200. And so you see them every day. Are they going to be okay there, or do you move Doyle and move stuff around and put McCarthy in center and Condon? I mean, I think Beck's going to be on the outs if I had to guess between Beck and Veen, Condon, Moniak. Like they're not keeping all of them.
You can't have them all. Yeah, you can't be like an outfield hoarder because it doesn't do anything for you. Uh, I think you bring up a great point because your trade deadline's coming in a month. August 3rd is the trade deadline. You also have to prove that the players that you might be trading are big league players, and you want to see them. We haven't seen much of Beck this year. Doyle, you haven't seen much, but I think Doyle's reputation is he's still an elite defender. Like he's been banged up. I think there's probably a lot of teams that would be interested in Brenton Doyle. Jake McCarthy, there's probably a bunch of teams that saw it and they're like, um, we'll see what ends up happening because you have talent that I think this front office, going back to our point, like it's a little bit more collaborative, far more transparent. I think they're willing to discuss a lot of trades where years past, there's no way the Rockies were going to trade homegrown talent that only, maybe has had a cup of coffee. So we'll see. And there's a chance if they do that, because you're still looking for more pitching. That's the one thing that you trade whatever you think. We said this when I was a player. Corey Sullivan and I talk about this all the time, and it's not to disparage any position player. A position player should never be untouchable unless you get like somebody that's the league MVP. The lifespan of a Rockies player from a position player standpoint doesn't typically last as long as it does for other organizations because of the wear and tear on your body at altitude. So you have an asset, you spit it for what you want, which is going to be pitching or maybe another position player, maybe at a younger level that has a different skill set than you want. So we've always felt that position players should be the most expendable asset that the Rockies have because you also have the ability to put up numbers. And like you can show that, hey, this guy actually can hit. And then they go to that other organization because there was a while where people didn't know if Rockies hitters were actual hitters. And then Matt Holliday gets traded. He's unbelievable with St. Louis Cardinals. DJ LeMahieu goes to another organization, goes to the Yankees, and almost is like an MVP. So like they've proven if you can hit at Coors, you can hit anywhere. But if you have 12 outfielders, they all can't hit at Coors at the same time. So they're going to have to figure that part out.
Yeah, because Condon's playing. That's like, we know that. So he's one of them. And Moniak, I would actually love to keep because I love the vibe. I love the energy. And if he has to DH more than I'd like, Mickey for me gets it. I used to say this about DJ. You can be a winning player on a losing team.
Yes.
Moniak feels like a winning player to me, like a guy I'm not ready to. And again, if someone wants to overpay for him, I understand, but I'm not looking to shove him out the door because he brings stuff beyond even the stats, and the stats are nice. But can you move a Veen? Can you move McCarthy? Can you move a Doyle? And I know they'd be reluctant to move off Tovar, but if the draft fell a certain way and you get a shortstop or whatever, I mean, you just at some point Tovar's got to hit. Like I like him, but his chase rate doesn't fit with their philosophy of hitting at all. I think for 2 years he led the league in first pitch swing rate, right? Like
Yeah.
she's like a high school. He's swinging at everything. Ball out of the hand, I'm swinging. Well, eventually it gets around that. Why are they going to throw him strikes? So I've seen it, and Jim Tracy used to say this, right? If I've seen it once, I can believe it. It's when you've never seen it from a guy, it's hard. We've seen it from Tovar, but if someone wants to overwhelm me with the deal, Spilly, for Tovar. I mean, I got Castro that can play short the rest of the year if he had to, or I can move guys around. I mean, this is how this is how organizations rebuild. You use an asset that you think in the previous regime would be untouchable. I just think you have to have an open mind. That's all. I'm not trying to run guys out of town,
Of
but
course not.
they
No, I
need
know
pitching.
they
They need pitching.
They need pitching, and
And he's starting pitching specifically, but they need. I mean, can you turn Halverson into two Halversons? Can you turn Senzatella, which you need him to get back on track here, but can you turn him into a younger version of Senzatella? Like these are the trades you make at this time of year. There's no reason to hold on to guys that you look at and go, well, we could take that and make that player younger, a version of him, or get two of that player for this player. That's how you get better. They're not to a point where you can hold on to guys. So instead of losing 101, we lose 97. Like that doesn't make any sense.
yeah, no, you got to get to the point where this team is winning 87 every single year, not losing 87. And I want to touch on one thing when it comes to Tovar and a lot of Venezuelan players right now, just because it's been hard emotionally for players off the field after the earthquakes last week. I saw with William Contreras. I was doing a Friday night game, Apple. It was Milwaukee versus the Cubs, and Contreras hits this massive like bomb of a homer, and he's in tears. And then his brother, 2 days later, this is in Boston. Boston he's had a crazy week in Boston. Wilson Contreras hits a home run and is inconsolable. I've told you this, like after losing a parent, like when I lost my mom, I was bad at baseball for a bit. It was just hard to compartmentalize, like what's happening off the field and then coming in to hit. You're right though. I mean, like that was last week. Tovar's been doing this the entire season, and his historically has been a high chaser. So, and there's not an easier person on the Rockies to cheer for. Like
Right.
Tovar
Exactly.
is like he's like your kid. It's painful to watch him suffer. We know he's suffering off the field, but like it's also painful to watch him on the field, like taking it back right now because you want him to come through, and he's just not. They've exposed him with the high fastball and his chase. So I mean, I don't know how to fix that. I know they're trying. I know he wants to try and get that thing fixed, but you're right. Like this version of the Rockies front office and this version of the Rockies is going to put all the pieces in place that follow a mold. And if you're not part of the mold, I have a feeling that, over time, those players that don't fit will eventually get moved.
Right. And it may not be the time now. I don't want him to sell low on the guy. If he's hitting 198 at the trade deadline, and I do sympathize certainly with our prayers go out to those of Venezuela. I don't want to sell low on him. Mine is more of a philosophical big picture of if he doesn't stop chasing, he doesn't fit what they're asking every guy in the minor leagues to do. And at some point, you can't ask every guy in the minor leagues to do it. And they look at the box score and see a guy play every day that's striking out, hitting 190. Like that's not good for buy-in either. Like you have to. And the reason you see, how did Cole Carrick get up here? And you explained it to me. It's like, look at his walk rate, look at his strikeout rate. It's not the numbers so much because Josh Burns said this. And I think you had mentioned it to me. There's never been a greater gap between AAA pitching and Major League pitching. And AAA pitching, they say, might be as good as it's been in a decade. It's just everything's turbocharged in the majors now. And so if you're chasing in AAA, but you're putting up numbers, they pretty much know now you're not going to do it here. You just won't do it. But I want to frame it this way then, because you've been there as a guy knocking on the door to get called. How do you if you're confident, keep your mind right when you're in this? I mean, he's got feels like 12 home runs in his last 20 games. I mean, he's on a Dansby Swanson tear here in the minors. But how do you keep your head right when you've been told, hey, do your job and you'll get called up? I mean, And I don't know, I haven't talked to Josh specifically about this. What else do they need to see from him? Are there still peripheral things? Because Veen, I get he's got to be a better base runner. He still struggles defensively at times.
Mhm.
There are things he could certainly pepper and season. I get. With Condon, is it just that they needs more reps because he missed so much time early in his minor league career?
Yeah, I would have guessed that, but I mean, look, when you get called to the big leagues, it's usually because somebody got hurt or there's poor
Right.
performance. I mean, like it's usually a big leaguer has to fail before you get the opportunity in the minor leagues, and
Good point.
that's the reality of it. I mean, you could you could be hitting 500 in Double A, and if the three outfielders or whoever's in there are all stars and great players, you're not going anywhere. Like it's good. Just keep putting up numbers. I remember I got a cup of coffee in 2005, was part of the team up and down in '06, and then I did not break with the team in 2007 where I was like, "Hey, man, I've already had, like, 120 days of service time. I've been a pretty, like, productive big leaguer." And I spent the first 45 days in the minor leagues in 2007 watching Steve Finley and John Mabry take at bats, and those are guys I respected, but they were veteran guys that were, like, 40 years old, and I got ticked off. I was like, What? Why am I putting up these numbers down here? Because like those guys don't shouldn't be there anymore. Like I've earned it. These are guys from the
Right.
outside." So that's that. Like I got ticked off, but that was year three. Charlie hasn't had his debut yet, so you just kind of you're patient. You wait because like your his opportunity is coming.
Yeah.
It usually happens under unfortunate circumstance for somebody else.
Right. You're right. I wonder if he sees what Jack Caglione's doing and is being like, damn, I need to get up there. I mean, this is a guy you played, a counterpart in the SEC and drafted the same year. And again, injuries played a role in this, but it just feels like, and I'm more used to the football thing, or it's like, why are we wasting bullets? Like this guy's ready, you got to play him now. Like if you have a running back in the NFL and he looks ready, you don't wait because it's
Yeah.
like the tread's going to go off the tire. You get him out there because he's going to be gone. And unfortunately, the nature of the business, 4 years or whatever. And so sometimes I watch Condon and be like, man, I hope they're not wasting those home runs at AAA. But I do understand he doesn't have a lot of minor league bats in the big picture. He doesn't because guys like you used to be back in the day. You're like playing four
15
minor league seasons,
1,500 at
four.
bats. Yeah,
Yeah,
1,500 at bats.
that's what I mean. You would know the number. There's no way that's common now. I don't even. They're lucky if they get 1,000, probably on these top prospects.
Yeah, I don't even know what the number is. I'll have to we'll have to ask Josh. We should have Josh on as a guest later on. All right, so this is our first show. You and I are planning on doing about 2 a week, and then we'll have other special guests on the Mile High territory. So that was awesome. All right, Troy, good first show. We'll be back at it soon.